Hey everybody, it's Jody. Man, there's a lot to talk about. Every day it seems like there's more to ponder. And we're in this space where there's so much anger and so much frustration that's coming out in so many ways that if you're not directly related to the anger and frustration, it's so easy to judge it. And I wonder how many of us are willing to put ourselves in the shoes of the people who are angry and frustrated. And if we would do that from our own perspective, our own point of view, might we be able to have conversations about things that can bring us together? Because right now, what occurs to me is that we are taking a position. I'll speak for, actually, I'm not doing this. I'm working my hardest not to do this. And so what I'm noticing is people who are taking positions against each other, and they're looking for every opportunity they can to make the other person, the other side, wrong. I'm in observation mode right now. I am doing my best to stay unprovoked by some of these conversations. I'm listening on radio. I'm watching videos online. I'm watching the news. I'm fascinated by the interactions and what we would call communication and the discussion and debate that's happening at the expense of any kind of dialogue. And then I'm also seeing opportunities and examples of complete dialogue. In Fargo today, what I noticed, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I noticed that there were people who were allowing a listening space of possibility instead of a closed listening space. Now, that maybe doesn't make sense, but let me try this. If I am a speaker in any venue, let's say I'm hired to be a speaker for an event, and the people are on their phones, people in the audience are on their phones, or they're talking to each other, or they're whispering, or there's music playing, there's no listening space for me to deliver a message into. My job is to be a speaker. And it's also my job to capture the attention of the people who are in the audience. Now, it's a lot easier when they come in open-minded, but if they don't, it's my job to capture them and to get them to at least find something of value in what I'm speaking. So it's a kind of a chicken and egg thing. But if we come into any kind of interaction, any kind of dialogue opportunity, which turns into a discussion or a debate with a preconceived notion of what's going to happen, there is a very small chance that anything will be resolved. And what I am noticing is the fascination I have with people who are willing to stay in the difficulty, stay in the confrontation. We live in a society, I'm not going to say that. I live in a community, let's say. I live in a region that is horrible at conflict. We hate conflict as a region. Where I live in Fargo, North Dakota, we will avoid conflict at all costs. And I am a communications major. I pride myself on being a communication expert, and I do that too. It's something in my DNA that would prevent me from staying in the conflict. And today I heard on a radio talk show a brilliant example of staying in the conflict. Now, they did get a little bit personal where in the conflict on the radio, name calling never is a great way. All of you are like that. Or if you are a person who listens to that radio talk show host, then I'm going to lump you into a category. That's never a way to actually come together, because there's no such thing as all or nothing. There's no such thing as everyone and no one. Always and never. Really dangerous places to get if what you really desire is connection. And that's what I really desire. I'm becoming really, really clear about my place in society. It has much less to do with being right about things, with taking a position on things, and much more to do with being a catalyst, being a conduit, being a mediator of what could be heated, sided debate, let's just say. Because debaters don't listen, they are formulating their statement. There's a way to speak and there's a way to process and dialogue, and they're different. They're different skill sets. And so I believe what's missing in our ability to connect with each other is our listening skills. And it's really scary to listen with an open mind, because you might have to admit that you didn't have all the information and you had made a decision long ago that is no longer valid. And that's what happens when we take a position and we don't listen to the other position. And what happens anytime, I don't even know what would be a positive outcome of two debaters. Not political debate, but if two people are coming to a communication opportunity from a place of, I already know what I know and I'm not open, the only thing that could happen is yelling and shouting. Now, take this to the protesting that's happening right now. If, as I heard on the radio today, if it's what someone says, that protesting does not necessarily have to be peaceful, let's say that. Whoever said protesting had to be peaceful, how do you hear that? You could hear, then, protesting needs to be violent. What if that's not what was said at all? Because then you have to go into the conversation about, what does it mean to be peaceful? Does peaceful mean tranquil? Does peaceful mean not attacking people with weapons? Because yelling and shouting and raising a fist and holding up a sign isn't peaceful necessarily. It's loud. And loud people are loud because they don't feel heard. And if we would just get better at listening, I bet the volume of the conversation would come down a lot. And so if we would just hear what people are saying, if we would just listen to them and help people have those conversations instead of attacking everything they say. What you said was this. No, that's what you heard. That's not what I said. I never said protesting should be violent. I said, who said protesting needed to be peaceful? And the way it was stated was, protesting is not peaceful all the time. Sometimes it gets loud because people don't feel heard. And protesting and rioting are not the same thing, people. Protesting and rioting are not the same thing. Rioting is wrong. Let's just call it what it is. It's wrong. Breaking other people's stuff is wrong. Hurting other people is wrong. There comes a point in the world at which there is right and wrong. Looting, stealing, breaking things is wrong. But protesting in a peaceful manner, even if that peaceful manner is loud, is not being violent. It's different. And maybe they need to call it something other than a peaceful protest, because I can see where a peaceful protest would be sitting on a lawn and saying nothing. Okay, and that could be a sit-in or, whatever. Protesting the way I've been witnessing it, at least in Fargo last week, was peaceful. It was loud, but it was peaceful. Nobody was out to get anybody else from what I observed until it got violent. Until I have no evidence for anything, so I don't know. All I can look at is the facts that were presented, and that's a whole other conversation about the distinction between facts and truth and what I saw and what I heard and how I interpreted it. All of that makes communication messy, but that's the beauty of true dialogue. It's going to be messy, and when we avoid the conflict that needs to happen in the messiness, we all leave with the same opinion we had when we came in. There's been no resolution, no possibility of resolution, because if we walk away with the same opinion we had when we came in. Staying in the messy middle is difficult. It's why most people don't do it. But in the messy middle, your voice can be raised. Your voice can be raised to get your point across. And if the listening space is there for you to get your voice, your raised voice heard, I bet, 9 times out of 10, the voice volume will come down when the person feels heard. There are ways to do this so that we can be in dialogue and we don't have to be in discussion. And there's always the opportunity for people to leave. If they don't want to be in that situation, if they don't want to work through it, they can walk away. It's still a possibility to do that too. There's nothing that says people have to want to grow, but it's so much more fun, at least it is for me, when we understand things differently, when we learn from each other. And that's the true definition of dialogue: suspending previous assumptions in order to learn from each other. And that's the possibility that exists in the Get Real Circle. This is what I'm called to do this inside organizations and inside the Get Real Circle. There's a place to have messiness in our communication if we can just get out of our subconscious, if we can get out of our out of even our conscious mind, the things that have been holding us back, because we've never had a place to get them out. If we have a safe space to do that, there's a much better opportunity that we can be conscious about picking things back up and leaving things behind. So consider joining our Get Real Circle, where we can have conversations like this. We will have some of them in dialogue format like this, where we can hear and see through video. And there will be times to chat and to share that way. We'll do the best we can with an online forum, but the whole idea is that you'll get some practice in actually communicating and not just staying in your own echo chamber. Because when we all work together, the possibilities for a more peaceful outcome are way greater than if we all stay in our own silos. So I look forward to having you join us, and I'll see you soon.